Okay, so Remy Ma didn't post a single original word today, not one caption, not one diss, and somehow she still ended the entire conversation. Let me show you how a woman destroys somebody without even opening her mouth. Welcome back to Celeb Spill. I'm your host, and today we're getting into Remy Ma, Cardi B, and the mess that is Claressa Shields. Buckle up, loves, because this one has layers. So Claressa does another interview, another platform, another mic, another opportunity to talk about her fight career. And what does she talk about instead? Remy Ma. Again, here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. You don't accidentally bring up the same woman's name in interview after interview after interview. That's not a slip of the tongue, sis. That's not, oh, it just came up. That is a tell. That is somebody who cannot stop thinking about the person she supposedly won against. And if you have to keep bringing her up to prove you're over it, baby, you are not over it. You know what confident people do when a rival's name comes up? They redirect one sentence, maybe a smirk, and back to the actual topic. You know what obsessed people do? They spiral, they over-explain, they give you 3 extra minutes you didn't ask for. Watch the interviews back with that lens and tell me I'm wrong. Now let's talk about the actual math here, because this is where it gets messy. She thought this was going to be simple. Papoose leaves, divorce gets signed, she becomes the new wife, credits roll. Except that's not what happened. What happened is she's been sitting in a waiting room for way longer than anybody signs up for, watching a marriage that refuses to officially end. And waiting rooms make people snap, ladies. Nobody stays calm in a waiting room forever. Eventually, the frustration has to go somewhere. And since she can't exactly be mad at the man who's stringing her along, guess where it's landing instead? On Remy. Every single time. Meanwhile, she's supposed to be promoting an actual fight, August 15th. Real boxing, her actual profession, and the buzz practically non-existent. Ticket sales struggling, the Zeus network involvement causing more backlash than hype. They had to ADD fighters to the card just to make it interesting. And even then, people are still lukewarm. You know who showed up to publicly co-sign this event? Monique. That's it. That's the big celebrity push. And when Monique is your headline supporter and the internet is still shrugging, sis, that's not a marketing problem. That's a you problem. Here's what really should be keeping her up at night. Every single clip going viral from her interviews. Not about the fight, not about the 2 Olympic gold medals, not about the actual skill that got her here. It's all Remy. Every time. People are joking that Remy Ma has basically become the algorithm at this point, because any clip with her name attached spreads instantly while the boxing content just sits there collecting dust. You are a decorated, undefeated athlete, and the internet cares more about your love triangle than your left hook. That should genuinely terrify you. Instead, she keeps leaning into it like it's a flex. It is not a flex. It is a warning sign. And honestly, that's the tragedy underneath all the tea, ladies. She fought her way to 2 Olympic gold medals with actual work and sacrifice. And now the algorithm has decided her most valuable content isn't her skill, it's her drama. That's what happens when you keep feeding a storyline instead of feeding your own accomplishments. And then it gets messier. Claims, unverified but persistent, that she's been financially propping Papoose up just to keep him close. Add in the Alicia Baumgardner confrontation, where she reportedly reacted physically over comments that honestly weren't even new information. Meanwhile, Remy barely says a word directly. A track here, a cryptic caption there. And somehow every single one of those cryptic moments lands harder than a full essay would. That's not luck. That's precision. That's a woman who knows exactly how much she needs to say to make the internet do the rest of the work for her. There's talk of a new album coming near the end of August. Maybe another diss record before that. And listen, when Remy goes quiet for a stretch like this, historically, that is never peace. That is reloading. The silence right before the drop is always the loudest part, if you know how to read it. Okay, this is the moment, ladies. Sit down for this one. Cardi B drops a brand new song, and within minutes, Remy Ma is on her Instagram story highlighting specific lyrics, lines about people desperately craving attention while trying to flex with something that already belonged to someone else. Remy didn't even have to write the words herself. She just hit share and let Cardi B say it for the entire internet to hear. That is not petty, ladies. That is outsourcing your closure to somebody else's hit single and letting it do all the damage for you. I had to run this back 3 separate times, 3 times, because the audacity, the precision, the sheer, I didn't even have to lift a finger energy of it. Chef's kiss, petty perfection. Let's break down what actually got highlighted, because the internet immediately connected dots. There's a line referencing wanting attention desperately, the kind of attention that comes from being seen with someone rather than actually being someone. And then the line that really sent people, you can't flex with something somebody else already had for years. You cannot parade a relationship around like a trophy when the actual woman you took it from is out here laughing, completely unbothered, casually reposting lyrics about the whole situation. That's not a flex, sis. That is a confession dressed up as confidence. And here's what really seals it. Remy didn't even have to name names. She let the internet do the connecting because she knows the internet always does. That's the difference between someone reacting out of hurt and someone operating from a place of complete control. One of these women is spiraling in real time. The other one is sipping something cold and watching the replies roll in. And can we talk about the paperwork for a second? Because everybody keeps skipping over this part. The marriage is not legally over. There is no finalized divorce decree sitting anywhere. So every time this gets framed as, well, they're separated, I need you to remember, separated is not the same as divorced, and different jurisdictions don't even treat that the same way. You cannot win a war you haven't legally entered yet, ladies. Instagram captions do not override courtroom paperwork, period. Now here's where it stops being about one man and starts being about an entire identity crisis. Fashion. Photo shoots, brand collaborations, even trip locations timed suspiciously close to things Remy already did. At what point does inspired by just become obsessed with? Because from where I'm sitting, this isn't coincidence anymore. This is basically a full-time hobby at this point. You don't accidentally recreate someone's entire public image piece by piece. That takes effort. That takes studying. And studying somebody that hard usually means you don't actually trust your own. I want you to really sit with that for a second. Studying someone else's identity that closely isn't flattery, it's a confession that you don't know who you are without a template in front of you. And the saddest part is she already has an identity that's genuinely hers, an Olympic legacy nobody can touch. Instead of building on that, she's out here trying to become a knockoff version of somebody else's life. And here's the part that really gets me, because at some point you have to ask what she's actually getting back from all of this. She's reportedly the one pouring in the time, the energy, the resources, the promotion. And critics keep pointing out that the return on that investment is looking painfully one-sided. You cannot be the one buying every single ticket to this relationship and still call yourself the main character of the story. That math simply is not mathing, ladies. So here's where I land on all of this. You cannot impress someone by proudly displaying something they already had, already lived through, and already walked away from. That's the entire thesis of this whole saga. Every interview mention, every styling choice, every carefully timed trip, none of it lands the way she thinks it does, because the person she's performing for already closed that chapter. And that, loves, is the funniest part. Remy isn't even fighting back anymore. She already left the building. Claressa is out here performing for an empty room and somehow still hasn't noticed the lights are off. All right, that's the tea for today. Loves, drop a comment down below. Is this genuine obsession, or is the internet just connecting dots that were never actually there? I want your honest take. Make sure you're following Celeb Spill, because knowing how fast this story keeps moving, we are absolutely not done yet. Like this video, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.
Ha ha!